podcast title, The Unraveling episode, Rules-Based Order, Suspended, Germany, Trump, China.
Helena, I wanted to start with something that really caught my attention this week.
Liam, a seasoned journalist, Dr. Helena Vance, a former diplomat with sharp, direct analysis.
A leading German official said something, well, pretty shocking. He said the rules-based international order is, for now, suspended. That feels like a massive admission. When you say rules-based international order, what exactly are we talking about?
It's the belief that countries should follow shared rules. Simple as that. These rules come from international law, and they're upheld by institutions we all know. The United Nations, the World Trade Organization.
Right.
The idea is that disputes get solved in courtrooms, not on battlefields. It protects smaller countries from bigger, more aggressive neighbors. It was the dream after the devastation of 2 world wars. A system to prevent great power catastrophe.
And Germany was one of its biggest champions, which is why that suspension line lands so heavily. For decades, Germany was one of the biggest champions of this idea. The champion, you could argue. Leaders like Angela Merkel constantly talked about multilateralism, shared values. It wasn't just rhetoric, it was the absolute core of their foreign policy. It was how a post-war Germany could be a predictable, peaceful power. And for a long time it seemed to work. So what happened? What were the cracks that started to appear? The first and biggest tremor came from the United States, under the Trump presidency, the America First doctrine, US leaving international agreements, Paris, US leaving international agreements, Iran. NATO summits turned tense. It was a profound change, because the US was the primary architect and guarantor of the whole system. When the most powerful nation questions the value of the rules it helped create, it sends a signal to everyone else. Trust in the system erodes, and that uncertainty lingers. If rules look optional at the top, others ask, why should we follow them? Which is unsettling for Germany, a country that built its identity on law, not military might. China is a global superpower now. It speaks of a shared future, but its actions often tell a different story. Look at the South China Sea. Beijing claims almost the entire waterway. It built military bases on artificial islands. In 2016, an international tribunal ruled against those claims. Beijing ignored it and moved on. That's a direct challenge to international law. And then, of course, there's Russia, the annexation of Crimea in 2014, and the full-scale invasion of Ukraine in 2022. For Moscow, brute force remains the ultimate arbiter. US wavering, China ignoring rules, Russia breaking them with force, hard power is back. This is Germany's dilemma. Military strength and economic resilience must align. For decades, it was checkbook diplomacy, an economic giant, a political dwarf, comfortable under an American security guarantee. But that world is gone. Berlin's new language, a Zeitenwende, a turning point, with a 100B fund to modernize the Bundeswehr. I remember a small, telling incident during a US government shutdown. Salaries for local German workers on US bases were delayed. Under German law, they had to be paid. Local authorities stepped in and paid, hoping to be reimbursed later. It's a tiny example, but political dysfunction travels fast. It shows your vulnerability. Without your own strength, you become a spectator. So what are the biggest risks if Germany and Europe don't adapt? First, economic. Germany's export model depends on open markets. A world of trade wars is a direct threat. Second, security. Poland and the Baltic states look to Berlin for leadership. If Berlin fails, it undermines NATO and the EU. And there's the risk of being caught between the US and China. It's bleak, but not hopeless. What's the strategy? First, invest in strength and resilience. The 100B is a start, but it must be sustained long term. Strength makes diplomacy more effective. Second, lead through partnership. France, Poland, others. Forge a common European defense policy. Speak with one voice. Third, reform and save the rules that still work. Champion reforms and write new rules for new challenges like AI. It's not about abandoning the idea, but rebuilding it for a more competitive era. It's a long-term project, but it's necessary. In the end, the question is simple. Does Germany want to be an object of history, shaped by other powers, or a subject, an actor helping write the rules for the 21st century? The suspension of the old order isn't just an ending, it can be a beginning. And the world is watching to see what Germany does next.
The Unraveling. Subscribe for more.